Hey guys, how's it going? Wanted to do a video on installing Plex media server on Ubuntu 18.04. This is my ESXi host. We're going to create a new virtual machine. We're going to give it a name. Since I already have a Plex media server running, I'll go ahead and name this number 2. It's going to live here. Plex Media Server is quite CPU intensive when it's doing playback. So I'm going to give it 2 virtual CPUs and 4 gigs of RAM. For this video, just for demonstration, I'm going to give it 30 gigs. However, you can give it more if you want to store more videos, of course. I'm going to click on the VM options and click boot. And I'm going to force entry into the BIOS of the next boot. Oops, I noticed I made a mistake. I actually put the network adapter here. I need to change that to this. Let me go ahead and verify my settings here. And everything looks good. Ubuntu 64-bit. 2 virtual CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM, and on the VM network. We'll go ahead and finalize that. With that finalized, we're going to go ahead and power on our virtual machine. And then I'm going to launch the remote console. And the reason I do it this way is because you can actually use a local ISO file versus having to upload it to a data store. I'm going to come in here to the settings, use ISO image, and because most of my servers are Ubuntu, we'll go ahead and use that. Make sure we come over to the boot and raise the boot priority for CD-ROM. This is going to boot up into Ubuntu. I'm going to press Control-Alt just to get rid of that message. It is kind of annoying sometimes. And while this boots, we'll get ready to configure our Ubuntu server. Once we're fully booted into the operating system, I'll go ahead and show you guys, or I'll go ahead and speed up the video so you don't have to sit here and watch it install. But I'll show you how to configure it and what each option is. We're going to go ahead and select English. And the keyboard defaults to English, which is what I want. Next, we're going to just install Ubuntu. We're not going to worry about any other settings. Now here's where I recommend setting a static IP address if you are the network administrator or it's just your house. For this purpose, I'm going to leave it at DHCP. I do not connect to a proxy, nor in the default mirror address is fine. For this demonstration, I'm going to leave this at using the entire disk. You might want to set a manual partition setup and have your operating system very small, and then have the other portion, or other partition, I should say, much larger, where you store all of your media. For the demonstrations of this, or purposes of this, we're going to leave this as the default. We'll hit done and continue. It's going to ask for our name. Whenever I stand up new servers, I generally leave them at just a default setting. That way I can quickly and easily get into them later. I'm fat fingering my password as I'm typing or talking. And we're not going to install any snaps. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the video here, as the rest of this portion is just Ubuntu installing. So I'll see you after this is done. For Ubuntu 18.04 has finished. We're going to go ahead and click the Reboot Now button. In a second, it'll ask us to remove the installation media. And then we'll reboot into the operating system. Once Plex or Ubuntu fully boots up, what I like to do is grab the IP address of the box, as it does change after it boots. So it had a .15 when the ISO first booted. However, once it boots up and installs, it will have a different one. Some of the text is going to look a little funny while it's still starting some of these daemons. We're going to go and clear the screen and grab the IP address. The IP address is now a .130. We'll make sure we can connect to it before we disconnect. We're going to accept the key fingerprint and log in. Now that we have the server fully booted, we're going to want to grab Plex itself. I went and Googled Plex Media Server, click on Downloads, and then we're going to select Linux. We're going to choose our distribution, and then we're going to choose the 64-bit Ubuntu /Debian 16.04 Plus. Right-click, copy shortcut, and now we could just do a wget space right-click, and this will download the Debian package file. Go ahead and run this command to install Plex Media Server. Make sure you do it as root or sudo. And this will only take a second. Once this is done, we're just going to verify that Plex is running. And we can see that it's loaded, active, and running. So that's it. Our Plex Media Server is now running. Let's go ahead and make sure that the web interface is working. Make sure you type in the IP address or host name. The port is 32,400, and then you want to make sure you do /web. And of course, depending on what browser you use, sometimes you do have to type in the full HTTP. With that done, you now can see that Plex is fully running. You can sign in with your account, and you're well on your way to setting it up.